To my audience. Hello, my name is Grant Bontalon, and I'm a second year here at San Jose State. Today, the purpose of my speech is to use Monroe's motivated sequence and to persuade you guys to support the right to carry concealed firearms. So, on April 29th, 1992, 4 white police officers were seen beating a black man named Rodney King nearly to death. These 4 white police officers were acquitted by an all-white jury, and this angered the black community, thus causing them to break out into riots. During the riots, a white truck driver named Reginald Denny was pulled out of his car by a black man named Damian Williams and was severely beaten. Due to the riots, the police were ordered to withdraw, so there is no protection for Denny. Would there have had been a different outcome had Denny been armed? This is why U.S. citizens deserve to have the right to carry concealed firearms. There is a need for more individual self-protection against violent crimes. Citizens aren't able to protect themselves in public, and we are at a disadvantage towards criminals with firearms on their person. Also, many law-abiding citizens are forced to break laws in order to protect themselves. Also, personal assaults and homicides in the U.S. are some of the highest in the developed world. Police are not required to or able to protect individuals. The police officers are responsible for their own safety and the safety of their loved ones. Now, before I get into this next case, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about distress calls. Police distress calls usually take about 7 minutes, sometimes even up to an hour for them to arrive at the scene. So in this next case, called the Warren versus District of Columbia case, this is a perfect example of that. So according to Kastler's article, in this case, there were 2 women who heard their third roommate screaming, so they dialed 911. After about 30 minutes, the 2 women heard the screaming stop, so they assumed the police had came. They ended up going downstairs, only to find that the intruders were still there. Now that the criminals were still there, they rounded up all 3 girls and robbed them and raped them for 14 hours straight. Also, violent assault is a problem in the United States. According to DisasterCenter.com, crime rates have increased from years 1960 to 2013. In 1960, the crimes were at 3 million. Last year, in 2013, the crimes were at 10 million. Also, the homicide rate, made up of all violent crimes, was at a high of 4.7%. That is why we need to have the right to carry concealed firearms. The legalization of having the right to carry concealed firearms can benefit society in multiple ways. 1, it can act as a deterrent towards criminals. When I say act as a deterrent towards criminals, I mean, look at Texas, because Texas has the right to carry concealed firearms, and their crime rates are much less than California's, which doesn't have the right to carry concealed firearms, according to NeighborhoodScout.com. Thus, this will lead to citizens feeling safer, since the criminals don't know who is carrying a firearm on their persons. This would also lead to fewer crime rates. Fewer crime rates means because criminals would think twice about committing their crime, and it would create a safer country and will allow people to be able to go out and not be threatened. Right to carry firearms also benefits society by helping the economy grow. The way it can help the economy grow would be by having there be a higher demand in firearms and guns. An example of this would be after the Sandy Hook shooting, the rise in demand for gun sales went up in 7 different states. Of those 7 states, California was one of them, according to Salon.com. These are all possible outcomes from allowing people to carry concealed firearms. Now imagine this. Each state can learn from each other, to see how carrying concealed firearms, having the right to carry concealed firearms would work out. The country can place right to carry laws, also known as shall issues. According to BuckeyeFirearms.org, a shall issue is where someone has to have a license or a permit on their person to carry a concealed firearm. This will allow only responsible people to carry concealed firearms. Carrying concealed weapons, also known as CCW laws, will also reduce crime without threatening the public. Over the past 14 years, about 22 states have adopted some sort of a CCW law. So since 22 states have adopted a CCW law, that shows that it's deterring crimes. Right to carry states are averaging a shooting rate drop in 69% since the law was put into action. This will work against violent crimes because assault and robbery victims, the lowest injury rate were victims that resisted with firearms. An example of this would be in Alabama at the Shoney's restaurant, where two criminals came in and they held up the restaurant and they found a customer hiding underneath the table, and they pointed their guns at him, and he stood up and pulled his gun out and killed both criminals, saving the day and everyone inside there. So this will protect us from violent crimes and will prevent them from occurring. Now that I've shown you cases and instances where having the right to carry concealed firearms comes in handy, this is why the U.S. government should allow people to carry concealed firearms. If we continue to live like this, then the crime rates will stay the same or increase due to the fact that the police aren't required or able to protect individuals. Having this law in the U.S. will allow citizens to protect themselves, and it will also act as a deterrent towards criminals. So I hope you guys will join the few who support the right to carry concealed firearms, because this can be a huge positive for our country.